That day I stepped in a bar to have a drink after 3 years. So I sat alone with no one around. I ordered a scotch that I start drinking slowly. I didn't put attention the persons around. I felt some eyes on me. But I didn't care. Today I will take all my pain and getting drunk till my blood turn into alcohol. All I care here is the music and the rain outside. But a nice parfum took me away from the mess that was in my mind. She sat next to me, in her black dress that revealed her shoulders and her long legs. She was young, but wanted to appear old. I still remember the aroma of her perfume in my mouth. She ordered a glass of wine, and she broke the silence by saying, "What a man like you trying to let go with alcohol. Life and all the mess that comes with," I respond without looking at her while taking a small sip into my mouth. "Then we all deal with same mess." She respond, "But what kind of mess are you dealing with?" "The kind that only drinks can move away. Maybe I can move it away if you tell me." I turned my eyes to her and said, "My story should be a movie. Then I would be happy to see it." I took a long breath to think about this situation. Somehow, I feel like I need to tell her what happened to me, why I am here, what brought me to this bar. And in the same time, I was shy, because she will know my only secret. But I will leave soon, and she will probably never remember me. I took a big sip and I said, "Everything started when I was 14. I met a girl that I will never forget. She was my best friend. She came to our school to join the CAMS school. When I first saw her, I felt something in my chest. She was small and thin. She had long green eyes, but her mouth and nose were small. Her hands were so small that I was afraid of breaking it. Her name was Kara. That day we only talked a few minutes. But day after day we start to know each other. After that, we started getting along really well. Our friend Alex had created a shared Facebook group, so I started talking to her outside of class. She was so kind, so delicate, that I was afraid to say anything that might break her heart. I knew a lot about her. She had a boyfriend, but he was a jerk who didn't treat her well. I had a habit of giving my friends small gifts. I wasn't rich, but I made an effort to show them what they meant to me. But for her, I made an extra effort. I didn't understand why, but I did it anyway. I brought her gifts, little bracelets, watches, every time. One day, I took the first step and sent her a friend request. We started talking more, and she began to open up. She told me what she wanted, what she was looking for in a guy. She admitted she was afraid to love again because when she loved for real. I talked to her almost every night. Sometimes we stayed up all night. But after a while, I felt like I was bothering her, like I was too much. So I started to distance myself. Still, when we met in class, I was able to talk to her, to be friendly. One day, it was a rough morning. I had class, but I had also had a bad argument with my older brother. I arrived early and took my usual seat. I usually sat with Alex, while she sat with her friend. That day, I sat by the window. No one had arrived yet, so I closed my eyes for a bit. When I woke up, the class was full. I looked beside me, and there she was, sitting next to me. She was whispering to Alex and the others, careful not to wake me. She knew I was tired. She could read me like an open book. I tried to go back to sleep, but it was hard with the professor talking and yelling. I kept my eyes closed anyway, just to enjoy the silence in my head. Suddenly, I felt a breath near my ear. It was Kara. She whispered, "I love you." I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to turn around, but I couldn't. I just stared in the opposite direction, hoping she wouldn't see me because I knew that confession wasn't meant for me. She had just needed to say it out loud, to get it out of her head. But the way she said it, so tenderly, so softly, all I could hear afterward was her, "I love you." That's when I started to see her differently. I began to realize that I was in love with her too. I wanted to see her, talk to her, protect her. I held my breath for a long time, hoping it wasn't a dream. After class, I pretended to be deeply asleep so she would wake me up. I felt her warm hand on my shoulder as she said, wake up, we're done, we have to go." I got up, still pretending to be sleepy. I wrote something on a small piece of paper and, without her noticing, slipped it into her hand. All I could hear in my head was, "I love you." When I got home, I didn't check my phone right away. I wanted to create some suspense because I knew the first thing she would do was read the note I had given her. I only went online at 9 p.m., and that's when I saw her message. She had sent me a photo of the note I gave her, on which I had written, "I love you." That night, we talked again. She asked me what I loved about her. I told her that, even now, I didn't know, but that every day I needed a dose of her because I was addicted to her. She was in my dreams, my thoughts, even my nightmares. But as long as she was in my nightmares, they became wonderful dreams. She just laughed, and even though I wasn't next to her, I could feel that she was blushing. For the first time in my life, I was the one blushing too. The days that followed were calm. We didn't talk as often, but when we did, I stopped holding back. I flirted with her, told her she was beautiful, that she lived in my heart, that she was the best thing that had ever happened to me, that she was my blessing. Every time we saw each other in class, we would take a few minutes to sneak away from the others, just for a short date. 10 minutes, maybe more. Each time I could barely look at her. She was so beautiful, and every time I fell for her all over again. We were the perfect couple. She woke me up in the morning, and I showered her with gifts. She always wore them, just to let me know that she knew they were from me. But all good things come to an end. I had to transfer to another school, farther away, to focus on my studies. My grades were slipping, and I knew I had to do something. That meant I couldn't be in the same classes as her anymore. It was something new for me. Even our conversations became less frequent. We were both so caught up in our studies that we barely talked. Silence took over our relationship until, eventually, there was nothing left. I knew we had broken up that way, but I still held on to the hope of seeing her again. Years passed, and I moved on from the story. I hadn't really found love again, but I no longer felt the pain of separation or the pull of attachment.